All right, today we're diving deep into a modern urban legend right from the heart of Mumbai. It's a seriously terrifying story that takes place in a popular girls' college, a story that students are still whispering about in the hallways. So get ready, maybe turn down the lights. Let's explore the haunting of SNDT.
That right there, that's the chilling core of this whole legend. Local students and even people who live nearby claim that long after the last classes are over, something, or maybe someone, is still walking the grounds of that college. It's this one terrifying thought that fuels this entire story.
Okay, so where does our story unfold? We're at SNDT Women's University, specifically its campus in the Juhu area of Mumbai. But here's the thing. The whispers of ghostly activity, they're not coming from the entire campus. Nope. They're coming from just one part of a place that's split into two very, very different structures.
So on one side, you've got this new building, totally normal, bustling with students and classes every day. But then, right next to it, stands the old building. In this place, it's completely abandoned, literally falling into ruin, and it is the dark source of all the ghost stories. And yeah, that's exactly where we're headed tonight.
So what is the actual legend? Well, it all centers on the spirit of a woman, who everyone believes was a former teacher. For years, students have reported hearing her voice echoing through the empty corridors, especially late at night. It's what makes this one of Mumbai's most compelling modern ghost stories. You know, every good ghost story needs a skeptic, right? The person who just doesn't buy it. And for our story, that person is a 20-year-old named Rohan. When he first heard this legend, he wasn't scared. He just thought it was ridiculous. But it was that disbelief that was going to push him to make a really, really dangerous decision. And you won't believe how quickly this all went down. A friend who actually goes to SNDT tells Rohan the story, and he basically just laughs in her face. So, feeling a little mocked, she dares him. She says, if you're so brave, go spend a night in the haunted building and see for yourself. And Rohan, being the proud skeptic he is, accepts the challenge without a second thought. But he wasn't going to go completely alone. So the plan was set. He and his best friend Vishal would sneak into the abandoned building at 1:30 in the morning. Armed with nothing but flashlights, they were determined to prove once and for all that there was nothing to be scared of. So the moment arrives, the two friends step inside this derelict building, and right away, the entire atmosphere just changes. All that bravado from the dare just melts away, and it's replaced by this heavy, oppressive silence. Just try to imagine this scene. They're creeping in through a back gate. The walls are covered in overgrown plants and thick spider webs. Every single time they push open a rusted door, it groans and screeches, just shattering that dead silence. They said the only other sound they could hear was the pounding of their own hearts. So as they're exploring these empty lecture halls, a woman's voice suddenly cuts through the silence. It's coming from a nearby classroom, and it sounds just like a teacher calmly reciting multiplication tables. Now Rohan, he's still trying to be the skeptic, thinking it has to be a prank. But Vishal is absolutely terrified. They start to approach the classroom, and just as they get closer, the voice just stops. And in place of the voice, they're hit with this wave of intense, unnatural cold. You know, it's that classic thing you hear in ghost stories, a sudden drop in temperature with absolutely no explanation. They said it felt like a freezer door had been opened right next to them. So Rohan, gathering his courage, steps inside the classroom. It's completely empty. But just as he's about to declare it's all a hoax, the voice comes back. Only this time, it is not calm. It's furious. It's shouting the multiplication tables, getting louder and faster, basically trapping them in the room with its rage. And then it escalates. A loud, sharp slap rings out in the empty room. It's followed immediately by the sounds of dozens of children crying in pain and fear. The two of them could only stand there, totally paralyzed, staring at each other in absolute horror. As they stood there, frozen by the sounds, they noticed something happening at the front of the room. A piece of chalk was moving, all by itself, across the surface of the old, dusty blackboard. So the question is, what kind of message was it leaving for them? This is the message that appeared. I was killed here, and now I want my revenge. In that single moment, the haunting went from just a series of strange sounds to a direct, terrifying communication. This was no prank. This was the spirit of a woman, and she had a motive. Now, their memories of what happened next would splinter into two different stories. But according to Rohan, this was the moment he came face to face with the horrifying source of the sounds, the ghost teacher herself. Rohan would later claim he saw the spirit standing over a terrified Vishal. He described a figure in a dusty black sari, her hair a complete mess. But it was her face that was the true horror. Skin that looked rotted and swollen, and eyes that were a solid, chilling white. But here is what elevates this from just a simple ghost story to a true urban legend. When it was all over, Rohan and Vishal had two completely different accounts of how they escaped that building and what happened in those final, terrifying moments. And this discrepancy is the real mystery. Rohan claims he ran back inside to save Vishal, who he saw trapped at a window right before he passed out. But Vishal claims he was the one who got outside, saw Rohan screaming at the window, and then ran to get help. So who was at the window and who was saving whom? But here is the one chilling piece of evidence they both agree on. And it wasn't just them, but the friends Vishal brought back for help heard it too. As they were searching for Rohan, they all heard it. The angry voice of the teacher and the desperate crying of children echoing throughout the entire abandoned building. That night pretty much cemented the legend of the haunted college. The conflicting stories, combined with that shared, terrifying experience, created the perfect storm for an urban legend that continues to be told by students to this very day. So what's the legacy of that night? Well, the old building is still abandoned. To this day, students share the terrifying tale of Rohan and Vishal, whispering that the ghost of that teacher is still in there, still waiting for her revenge. And as you might guess, no one dares go near that classroom after dark. Which brings us right back to the beginning. This all started with a challenge